Celtic filled two further posts this afternoon. Davy Hay was named as assistant general manager, while Murdo McLeod returns to his former club after a gap of 10 years as the new reserve team coach.
Hayes' appointment comes as no surprise. He was put in charge of team affairs after Tommy Byrne's departure. But ex-Celtic midfielder Murdo McLeod's return as reserve coach came completely out of the blue, and it follows his recent sacking as manager of Partick Thistle.
As soon as I got a phone call and there was a possibility to come here, I had one or two things maybe happening in the continent, but when a club like Celtic come along, it doesn't happen too often in your lifetime, so I was delighted to come back.
To be fair to Fergus, when he asked me to be acting football manager, he always assured me that we would be positioned at Celtic Park. Compared probably with the last position, the chief scout, I suppose I've stepped up the rung of the ladder. But I've always said, I'm just delighted to be here at Celtic Park, playing my part and getting success for the team.
Meanwhile, Celtic start pre-season training tomorrow, but Paolo Di Canio won't be there.
We heard from him today to the effect that he was suffering from a throat infection which had turned slightly feverish. His doctor was there. We spoke to the doctor, who indicated that it was inadvisable for him to travel at this point and recommended he did not travel for at least 48 hours. And on that basis we said, well, make sure you're right and get here for Monday morning, and that's what's going to happen.
And Brown went on to say that the appointment of a new head coach is imminent. And some other news for Celtic fans: they can see their team in action live for the first time in the new season when Sky Scottish covers the Irish International Football Tournament from the 15th of July in Dublin. Celtic played Derry City in their opening match. Also involved are Tommy Byrne's new team Newcastle and PSV Eindhoven.
Finally, that's after the football, and most of the Celtic squad were put through their paces today on the first day of pre-season training. There were no new faces on the playing side, although the new additions to the coaching staff were there. But the club is still waiting for perhaps the most important new member of staff, a head coach.
The first day back after the summer holidays, and the training session which players dread. Unlike Rangers, Celtic have still to strengthen their squad, although one old face was missing for the first time in over 15 years, that of Paul McStay, recently forced to give up the game. Brother Willie was there though, taking training along with new reserve coach Murdo McLeod, and both leading by example. Also there, Malky Mackay, one of 4 players out of contract soon. He's expected to sign a 1-month deal within the next few days. But Celtic know that new blood is needed both on and off the pitch.
Well, I think once the head coach comes, that's when everything will move forward very quickly. But obviously just now, in the player front, we can't really push too much, albeit we've got names who we want to bring to the club. But once a new coach comes in, I'm sure that'll be pushed on.
Plenty of fans were at Strathclyde Park to watch their heroes sweat their way back to full fitness. Weight training was the order of the day. No ball work just yet. That was left to the spectators. And among those watching from the sidelines, Jock Brown, taking in his first Celtic training session as general manager.
I think it will be my last training session too, because there's no intention on my part to be at training sessions except on the first day with the players here. But after that, I'll leave it in the competent hands of all those who are much better at that.
And talking about that, what's the latest state of play as far as the head coach is concerned?
There's no new development today. Matters are still ongoing, and the indication we've given to date that we hope things are imminent is still the case, and that's still the position.
Well, it won't be John Toshak. He's taking over at Turkish
Minutes with the sports news.
Got picked out in those pictures there, Anne, for a moment. Celtic players will start making headlines again after a week of off-field news coming out of Parkhead, with just the vital post of head coach to be filled in the football management setup. The Celtic first-team squad, or most of them, embarked on pre-season training at Strathclyde Park. John Barnes watched them limber up.
Less than a month after being sacked by Partick Thistle, Murdo McLeod was back as leader of the pack as Celtic began their preparations for the new season. But it wasn't exactly a stroll in the park. And after 10 years away from the club, there weren't too many familiar faces for Murdo to spot.
There's not very many. Most of them are away. I think Packy's still here and Peter Grant. So it's all new faces to me.
What about George Cadet and Paolo Di Canio? When can we expect to see them back training with Celtic?
They'll all come back next week along with international players that's been away in duty.
So with Murdo McLeod as reserve team coach and David Hay assisting general manager Jock Brown, the only thing for Celtic fans now is the appointment of a head coach and some big name signings.
Celtic's last major buy was Tommy Johnson from Aston Villa, but that was under Tommy Burns. And any new signings hinge on the selection of a head coach, whose introduction must surely be imminent.
There's no way in the world in which we are prepared, and I am prepared to say that there will be an appointment by, say, Friday, in circumstances where these discussions are not concluded. And that's as simple as that.
Other matters still to be resolved at Parkhead are negotiations with their 5 out-of-contract players.
The Scotland